This is All India Radio, Power of Listening. Under this series tonight, we take you on a journey to the world of yet another magnificent facet of the traditional Indian knowledge systems. Our ancestors were well versed with the concept of time. Even the concepts of days, months, and different seasons were based upon their clear understanding of time. Not only scientific texts like Leelavati, but also other ancient literature has had various references of the concept of time. Even Mahakavi Kalidas composed an epic like Ritu Samhara based on the ever-changing beauty of nature through different seasons. In the history of mankind, different calendars have evolved based on the concept of time. In today's episode, we shall be taking you through the history and evolution of the calendar system in India and its various interesting components. The expert is Dr. Srinand Bapat, Indologist and Sanskrit scholar. Talking to him is Janvi Padgaonkar. Stay tuned.
The Indian civilization, one of the oldest civilizations in the world, has a rich tradition of science and technology. Ancient India also had an elaborate and advanced calendar system which is still in use today. To give more insights on the Indian calendar system, we have with us today Dr. Srinanda Bapat, Indologist, Registrar and Curator of the Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, Pune. Welcome, Dr. Bapat.
Thank you, thank you.
My first question to you is, what is the Indian calendar system and what are its origins?
The Indian calendar system, something with 5 limbs: Tithi, Vara, Yoga, Karana and Nakshatra. These are the 5 limbs. And the origins of the Indian calendar go back to at least the Vedic times. And why I say at least the Vedic times, because you have a very clear idea of a number of components of the Panchanga in the Vedas, right from the Rig Veda. And also it must have some origins in the prehistoric and protohistoric times. Otherwise it cannot simply appear in the Veda as it is. So the origins are actually very ancient, perhaps more ancient than the Vedas.
So could you elaborate more on that? Do we have any references of these, of the mentions in the prehistoric or,
There is no
Vedic
mention
time?
as such in the prehistoric records, and as you know, what we have in prehistory and protohistory is only the archaeological material and antiquities particularly. So there are hardly any antiquities or artifacts to show that they knew calendar. But calendar is something which cannot develop all of a sudden. So certainly there are some origins to pre-Vedic period also. Now in the Vedas, what you find is that you have Tithi, that is the difference of 12 degrees between the motion of the sun and the moon, that is a Tithi. You also have in the Veda the month, that is Masa. And you see the Masa of the Rig Veda or the Vedas particularly, it ended on Paurnima, because the Paurnima, that is the full moon night, is called as Paurnamasi. So the day on which the month is completed, Purna Masa. So you have the Purnimanta months, lunar months, and you also have the ayanas, so solstices of the sun. So they have a very good idea of motion of the sun, the motion of the moon. So you have Tithi, you have the year, Varsha, you have ayana, and you also have the constellations, the nakshatras in the Vedas. As I told, Tithi, that is the date, lunar date, it was known to the Vedic people as well. Then they also knew the year, the Varsha, they knew the ayana with winter and summer, and the solstices and the equinoxes. They also knew the seasons. So these are the components that were already known to the Vedic people. They also knew the month and the fortnight, Paksha. So the black fortnight as well as the bright fortnight. Now what was added to this was the weekdays, and the weekdays were added by the Greeks. Actually the Indian calendar was completely based on constellations, so nakshatras. And as you know, constellations are the groups of stars which move together. So to ascertain a group of star and to locate it in the sky and to observe it continuously was easy actually. But that is not the case about a single moving object or a single celestial body. And that is why planets were not known to India. Planets, yeah, like for instance, Buddha, Mercury, or Venus, or Mars. These were not known to Indians because they had not observed them, or at least there is no record that they had observed it. The groups of stars, that is constellations, were known. So from constellations, they used to ascertain everything else. But it happened that the Greeks could find planets, and then the concept of weekdays was evolved by them. And that is why you see from the Greeks we have adopted the weekdays, and it was so logical that it has remained all over the world the same.
So, could you elaborate more on the formation of the weeks? Like, how are they incorporated in the calendar?
What they did is that they actually arranged the celestial bodies with the order of their motion. So the slowest planet first and the fastest planet at the end. So they arranged it according to, see, they took Saturn first, then it was Jupiter, then Mars, then it was the Sun. Of course, Sun is a star, we know that for sure. So Saturn, then Jupiter, then Mars, then it was the Sun, then Venus, then it was Mercury, and the fastest moving was the Moon. So they arranged them like this, and then they gave the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and accordingly the fourth thing would come as the next day. So Saturn would govern one day, and the next day would be governed by the Sun, the next day by the Moon, the next day again by Mars. So that was a very logical system, and it was developed so logically that the Indians adopted it and continued in the same order.
As you said that the ancient Indians did not have the knowledge of planets earlier. So was it only after the Greek period that it started in the India calendar system?
Yeah, see
the Greeks, what was the time period of this?
The Greeks actually knew of the planets sometime in 2nd, 3rd century AD.
Right.
And then they adopted it, and the Indians adopted the system of weekdays most probably in the 6th and 7th century. The earliest reference of the use of weekdays is found in an inscription which is dated 692. So till then you don't find any mention of weekdays.
Interesting. Now the most widely used calendars are the solar calendars, and the popular Indian calendar is lunar. So what is the basic difference between these two?
It is a matter of convenience. A solar calendar, now even we experience in our day-to-day life that sometimes, some days ago, the sun was actually rising every day at a particular place, then it slowly shifted to the right or to the left, whatever, as you see, and then it reached a particular point, and then again it came back, and now it is rising in the same location. So that is actually the year, because that is the Dakshinayana and Uttarayana of the sun. Now it is not easy for a common man to calculate days like this, years like this, or to ascertain months. So the easiest way, or an easier way for him, is to ascertain the month from the motion of the moon, because the moon has phases, and from the new moon day, where actually there is no moon in the sky, till the full moon day. So every phase is different, and you can easily identify what the phase is, and you can ascertain the tithi. Now what the Indians did is that they actually had a hybrid system. So they actually tried to have a combination of both the systems. Whereas you see in Arabia and other regions, in West Asia particularly, they adopted a lunar system completely. Why they could do it is because they have no concept of seasons as such, or there is no fully developed agriculture. They don't have rainfall, regular rainfall like that, and so they could manage with the lunar calendar. But India, as I told, is a monsoon country, and we are completely dependent on rainfall, and rainfall is caused by the sun. So you have to have the sun in your calendar,
Right.
and for facility you should also have the moon. So they developed a lunisolar calendar. So it was also based on the moon and also on the sun. So what we have is that we have the solar months, we have the lunar months, we have the constellations that are governed by the sun, we also have the constellations governed by the moon, and both these systems have been interwoven in a very good manner in India.
That's interesting. So, are there any, I mean, is this calendar the same across India, or are there any regional variations? Because, we see, I mean, different regions in our country have different New Years.
Yes.
So, could you just elaborate on that point?
There is a very clear difference actually. There are some regions in India like the southern regions, particularly Tamil Nadu and Kerala, that use the solar calendar. They have the solar calendar. So their months are named after the Rashis. So Karka, Simha, Kanya. So that's how they have it. But in the rest of India, you have the lunisolar calendar. So we have the months Chaitra, Vaishak, Jyeshtha, Ashad, etc. that are based on the moon. But we do not forget also the sun. So the Sankranti is actually celebrated as per the motion of the sun. Okay. Now this is one part of it, that some regions have a completely solar calendar and some other regions have completely a lunisolar calendar. Now the other difference is that in some areas the beginning of the year is on the Chaitra Shuddha Pratipada. So that is Yugadi or Gudi Padwa or Cheti Chand or whatever. There are many names attached to it. So Chaitra Shuddha Pratipada. There are some regions like Gujarat or Rajasthan where they start the year in Kartika, and particularly the merchant community. They start their year in the month of Kartika. So the Kartika Shuddha Pratipada is their beginning of the year. Then there are several other beginnings of the year also. For instance, the entry of the sun into Mruga Nakshatra, that is Orion. Which falls around 7th or 8th June. So that is one beginning. Then the Bharatiya Saura, the Indian solar calendar that is accepted by the government of India, it begins on the 22nd of March when the sun enters into Aries, that is Mesha. So these are some things. And beyond that, there are several days that are auspicious, on which the several years also begin. So for instance, there is a Veera Nirvana Samvat, which is about the Nirvana of Mahavira. Then there is also a Samvat after Buddha. Now for instance, in Maharashtra you have a Shaka which originates on the Jyeshtha Shuddha Trayodashi, which is named Shiva Rajabhisheka Shaka. So there are several beginnings of the year, and they are celebrated or they are observed all over the country differently.
There's also an interesting month in the calendar, the intercalary month, or popularly known as the Adhik Mas.
Yes.
So, what is the reason behind this additional month that we have, and what is its significance?
Yeah, it is a bit technical, but let me make it as simple as possible. You see, in interweaving the lunar system and the solar system, what they did is that they decided that there should be one solar transition between two new moon days of the moon. So there should be one solar transition, Sankranti, between two Amavasyas. Okay, then the system runs very well. Now the lunar month is actually shorter than the solar month. The lunar month is about 29 and a half days, whereas the solar month is a bit larger than 30 days. So that is why you have the leap year, in which you adjust 1 day after every 4 years. Why that? Because the solar year is larger than 30 days. The solar month is 30 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes and 46 seconds. Whereas the lunar day is about 29 days and some hours. So the lunar month is always shorter than the solar month. So what happens that after about 3 years, a time comes when between two Amavasyas there is no solar Sankranti. Because the solar Sankranti has gone and then an Amavasya comes and there is a next Amavasya and after that a solar Sankranti comes. Because if on the, say on the 15th of some month the solar Sankranti has occurred and then the next day is the Amavasya and then the next Amavasya comes on the 14th of the next month and a solar Sankranti is again on the 15th. So then there shall be no Sankranti between this Amavasya and that Amavasya. And that month is calculated as the Adhika month. So it is a repeated month and the name of the next month is given to this month. So you have the Adhika month first and then the Nija month. So now for instance, if there is a Jyeshtha month, that is Adhika, just like it was last year. So there is a Jyeshtha Adhika and then Nija, and this is how the calendar is adjusted. As I said that the lunar month is 29 and a half days. If you calculate 12 months, they come to about 354 days. Whereas the solar year is 365 days or 366 days. And there is a shortage of about 11 days in every lunar year. Then how to make this up? This is made up by this intercalary month. After every 3 years, you are going to have an extra month which is going to adjust those missing 30 days. That is the idea.
Interesting. We generally have time measurements as minutes, hours and seconds. So what are the time measurements like in the Panchang?
Let me take you back again to the Veda. Now the Vedas had an idea of Yuga. Our today's idea is that a Yuga is about 4,32,000 years. But their idea of a Yuga, age, was 5 years. So there was an age of 5 years. This idea, as they were confident about calculation of time, this idea expanded. And even the Jaina, you see, astrologers and astronomers and the Buddhist astrologers and astronomers have contributed to this. So it evolved and the tenure of the Yuga expanded. And today we have the tenure of the Yuga as 4,32,000 years. Now under that there are several entities. They are there in the text but we normally do not use them. But then we shall come to the year. Okay. So the solar year, as you know, it is 365 days or 366 days. And the lunar year is 354 days or 355 days. But it is adjusted with the intercalary month. And so it also becomes practically 365 days. Okay. There is also a calculation of Ayana. So the solstices and the equinoxes, and that is 6 months. This is a solar calculation. Then there are solar months and also lunar months. Now in the lunar months, you have something like Paksha, the fortnight. So there is a dark fortnight and there is a bright fortnight. And what you have is from the Shuddha Pratipada of a particular month till Purnima, that is the bright fortnight, and from Vadya Pratipada or Krishna Pratipada till Amavasya, that is the dark fortnight. Now in the north, the months are Purnimanta, they end on the Purnima, whereas in the south, they end on Amavasya. So the northern month is always 15 days ahead of the southern month. So that is another thing. Now in a Paksha or a fortnight, there are 15 Tithis. And as I told you, the Tithi is actually the difference of 12, degrees between the motion of the sun and the moon put together. Now they did not get satisfied with even these ideas. So in about 8th century, they developed an idea of yoga. And the yoga was actually the division of the month into 27 parts. So the difference of 13.2 degrees between the motion of the sun and the moon, that was the yoga. They also developed an idea of a karana. So karana is half a tithi, so that is 6 degrees. So if tithi is 12 degrees, then the difference of 6 degrees between the motion of the sun and the moon, that was calculated as karana. So these are the broad classifications. So tithi Yoga, Karana, Nakshatra, Varsha, Ayana, etc. As we discussed, the weekday, that is Var, that was introduced in about 7th century in India, and that is a completely independent unit. Why? Because the number of weekdays is 7. And actually 365 is not divisible by 7, 30 is
Right.
not divisible by 7,
Yeah.
12 is not divisible by 7, nothing is divisible by 7. So it is a completely independent unit of time. And why that was necessary? In order to ascertain whether a particular document is genuine or forged, you can ascertain it by ascertaining the weekday. Whether if the weekday written in the document is correct, then you can say that the document is likely to be authentic.
So could you elaborate more on this point?
Now you see, tithi can be written, they are repeated.
Yeah.
Okay, so every year you are going to have the same tithis actually.
Hmm.
But if you go wrong in writing the weekday, then that means there is some problem.
Oh, right.
So Chaitra Shuddha Pratipada is going to be there on in every year. But if you write instead of Thursday, if you write Monday, that means something is wrong.
Right.
So that is the importance to have a completely different and independent unit of time was necessary, and that is what the weekdays have done in the calendar system. Now under this, there are also some micro calculations. Now India has praharas, the idea of praharas. So there are 8 praharas of the day. Each prahara is 3 hours. Then under praharas, you have something known as muhurta. And muhurta is 48 minutes. Whenever we say that this is a particular Shubha Muhurta given for a particular activity, that means it is a duration of 48 minutes. Then under that is Gatika, that is 24 minutes. So 2 Gatikas form a Muhurta. Then under Gatika, there is Pala, that is 24 seconds.
Okay.
And there is also a Vipala, that is 0.40 seconds, 60th part of the Pala. There are also calculations that go even below this, which are even micro calculations, but we shall not go into those details just now.
Okay. So throughout history, we come across different eras started by different dynasties, like say the Vikram Samvat or Shaka era,
Yeah.
or even the Gupta era.
Yeah.
So what exactly are these eras? Could you just elaborate on them?
They actually mark some new, regime. Now, for instance, Kali Yuga, the oldest era, that is 3101 years older than the Christian year. Of course, the references to it, you find them only from the 5th century AD. But the difference between Kali Yuga and Christian calendar is 3101 years. Then there is also a Vikrama Samvat, and the difference is 56 or 57 years. So Vikrama Samvat is ahead of the common era by 56 or 57 years. And why I am saying 56 or 57? Because it begins in Chaitra or in Kartika, and it does not actually correspond with January. Now there is a Shaka, which was started by the Shaka kings, and today it is known as Shalivahana Shaka. And the difference between that is 78 or 79 years. So it follows the common era. Then there was a Kalchuri era, there was a Gupta era, and the Gupta era, it began in 320 CE. So it is about 320 years below the common era. And there are so many other eras that are prevalent in various regions. So these are the 5 main eras that one can talk about.
So the most popular two were the Vikram Samvat and the Shaka era.
And the Shaka era.
And our Indian national calendar uses which one of
The
these?
Shaka era.
The Shaka era.
The Shaka-
And so, since calendar has been an integral part of the society throughout ages, do we find any historical references of these in, say, inscriptions or documents?
Yeah, there are numerous references, and you see, every king who would be influential would also start his own era. So you actually find the mention of Kharavela starting his era. So in his inscription you have his era. Then you have the Shaka kings who have used, of course, the Shaka era. So in the Rudradaman Tadaga Prashasti, which is dated 150 CE, so he mentions that this is the 72nd year of my reign. That's what he mentions. Then there was also a practice of mentioning the regnal year of the king, then the season, the fortnight, and the tithi. You find this practice in the Vakataka copper plate inscriptions. You also have a normal practice of giving some era, month, then fortnight and day. That's a very common practice that you find. You also have a mention of events like solar eclipse or lunar eclipse in the various copper plate records that are given by various kings. And also, as the time progresses, you find the yogas, you find the karanas that appear in the inscriptions. There is also many times a mention of Sankranti, the transition of the sun, that you find in various inscriptions. For instance, the Aherwadi inscription of Soideva, it mentions that this is given on the Pushya Bahula Dashami, on the day of Uttarayana Sankranti, that is Makara Sankranti. And then there was also a practice of naming the year. So there is a cycle of 60 years, Bharhaspatya Varsha Chakra, and even those years have been mentioned by various inscriptions. So it's a very interesting study of the evolution of Indian calendar that you can do through the inscriptions.
Right. So, which is the oldest inscription that we have?
The dated inscription?
Yes.
As far as I know, it is the inscription of Kharavela.
Kharve. And the year?
The year is his fifth
Yeah,
year.
so-
So we cannot exactly ascertain
Okay.
when this came into being.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bapat, for an insightful and detailed information on the Indian calendar system.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The history and evolution of the calendar system in India and its various interesting components. You heard the 10th episode of our all-new series on traditional Indian knowledge systems, Power of Listening. We hope you enjoyed it. The expert on the show was Dr. Srinand Bapat, Indologist and Sanskrit scholar. Talking to him was Janvi Patgaonkar. Special thanks to All India Radio Pune, Randhir Thakur and Amol Parth for their contribution. This series has been conceptualized by Shashi Shekhar Vempati, CEO Prasar Bharati, and produced by Nilima Patwardhan and Vinod Kumar. You must be aware that the Indian national calendar was adopted by the Government of India on the 22nd of March 1957, with Chaitra as its first month. This calendar is being followed by various ministries and departments, including All India Radio. How this calendar system came into existence is another interesting story, which we shall focus in our next episode. Be there on the 3rd of December, same time, same frequencies. Bye for now.